what is a good response to send me an email? So if we can put that up on the front, boom. See, there was on point. Was on point. So this is a really good thing for us to tackle here, because I feel like a lot of people get this. Put a 1 in the chat if you get this as an objection, because I want to make sure that what we're talking about here is like relevant. We don't want to say something then it's like, yeah, we don't deal with that. the large majority of people deal with this. All right. So David, what are you telling your team on how to handle this? I'm curious if we have a similar view on this, but I'm curious.
Yeah. So the best response that I can pretty consistently use from my perspective, as I always ask, no problem at all, or I always say, no problem at all. What would you like in that email? That's pretty much my response every single time. And the reason it's my response every time is because from there, it gives me a much better chance at converting or turning the prospect around and hopefully getting a meeting, which is ideally what we would get from that, because it's going to tell me a lot about what they didn't understand from what I've spoken about already, or what's important to them from what I've spoken about already. If you get, the chat just blew up when you asked how many people get that objection. And I always say that if you're the sort of person that's getting that objection a lot of the time, that could be because of the fact that you're maybe speaking too quickly in your when you're talking to a prospect, or you like what you're saying kind of doesn't, it's hard for them to process. And so that's why they're asking for an email, so they can go away and they can digest it. And so by asking what they want to see, that kind of gives me insight into perhaps where kind of I wasn't fully clarifying what they're looking for. So that's usually my go-to response. And then from there, that, it kind of opens up a whole host of other paths to go down. And one of those paths might be that I send them an email, because I genuinely think that's the best thing for my prospect at that stage. But ideal world is that they actually say, yeah, look, I'm not so sure on, like it could be pricing, for example. And maybe I can give them clarification on pricing right then and there, if I think it's appropriate, and then ultimately get a meeting instead of the email. But yeah, that's my approach. Morgan, I don't know whether you do anything similar.
Our approach is the same, and I'm just going to add to what you said. So what David just said, I would write that down and use it every single time. Please don't say, yeah, I'll send you an email, because when you follow up next week, abyss, no response, nothing, crickets. You don't want any of that, right? So when you say, hey, what do you want, or what exactly looking for in the email, they're going to tell you. This approach is called give to get. Some of you probably are familiar with this approach. Essentially, if I'm going to give you something, I want to get something in return. So don't just send the email and say, see you later. You need to get something in return. So I'm saying right after they give me the information, hey, I'm going to send you an email with whatever you're looking for, whatever they say, ebook, whatever. And say, typically, this is important that you say this. Typically, when I send an email, the people that I talk to, they like to get on a call so they can visually see and review whatever I sent over, right? Does that sound fair? Now, the reason I do it that way is because typically means that you've done this before, shows confidence, shows you're a guide, shows you're leading. 2 is at the end of it, I say, does that sound fair? No one wants to be unfair. So psychologically, people are going to be like, oh, that's fair. I'm going to do that. I'm going to book a call. So now you did what you were supposed to do. You sent the email, right? They're getting on a call. Everybody wins. And this is the last thing that's important, because someone mentioned about like, how do I follow up, or how do I make sure that people respond to this email, open it? This is a question I would also write down, and don't miss this question. When you're about to send this email, or when you get the information, say, what is a subject line that we can both agree on so that you see this in your inbox, so I don't become an annoying sales rep? You have to say it exactly like that. So I'll say it again. What is a subject line we can both agree on so I don't become an annoying sales rep moving forward? Because guess what? You will be annoying. Right? If you don't do that, right? So that is the way on how you tackle that for the people that put 1. So if you put a 1 in the chat, let us know if that was helpful. If you follow the framework we just gave you, you'll start converting that more often.